So hello everyone and welcome to my talk, 8 Healthy Recipes Using Angular and RxJS. A little bit about myself before we start. My name is Lamis. I'm a senior software engineer based in Tunisia. If you don't know, Tunisia is a small, beautiful country in North Africa, bordering the Mediterranean Sea. And I've been into Angular for the past few years. I'm HG for Angular and the founder of Angular Tunisia. I'm really involved in women empowerment communities. I'm already a member of Women Who Code and Women Who Code Frontend. And it was a rewarding experience for me because my career was hugely affected and continue to be on a regular basis. And aside, I'm speaker, mentor, trainer, and a content creator. So without further ado, let's jump into our recipes. And here is a disclaimer for you. So all food pictures in these slides are purely made for aesthetic purposes. So there is no link between the Angular or RxJS I am pointing out and the food picture in my slides. So don't try to make a link because there's no link. Yeah. And our first recipe is about bulk operations. And I think many developers here are familiar with the term bulk, and which means that you will do massive operations at the same time. The context here is my UI want to request the server. So we have a backend and we will run multiple HTTP requests at the same time. Yeah, so this is the case here, bulk operation. And I think that many developers has experienced this in their web applications. Okay, so this is the use case. I mean, I have my UI layer in the right and the server in the left and the server on the right. And the server contains an API that I will request through an HTTP request. And here, after clicking on an event or triggering, let's say, an event and clicking on an action or wherever, but let's say it's something that will happen after triggering an event, I will just call my many APIs or the same API many times. Okay, so I will perform more than one HTTP request. Yeah, so this is an example of a bulk operation, a generic example. But if you want to do a simple, I will point out the upload process, upload files, or let's say massive uploads. Okay, so with massive uploads, maybe in your UI you have to upload many files. Yeah, so you have the UI component there that makes you able to upload those files. And after clicking on an upload all action, for example, you will need to do the massive upload, which is uploading those files, okay, in one shot. And what I need then is a response whether my files were uploaded successfully or there is an error happens, an exception, etc. And if this happened, I want to know why in my UI. Okay, I want to know why the file, this file wasn't downloaded successfully. Yeah, so this is the sample for demonstration purposes. And what we will need in order to implement this is fork join, finalize, catch error operators, and a custom function. So those are our ingredients for this recipe. And let's start with fork join, and this is the marble diagram of fork join operator. So fork join operator falls under the category of combination operators. When you want to combine streams, think of it. Maybe it's a candidate. And how it works. I can call it as a severe operator because it only emits one time and then completes. and it emits when all the streams given as input finished or completed. Okay, and here is an example. We have here 2 streams, or let's say 3 streams. Okay, so we have 3 streams, and we will pass it as input to the fork join operator. Okay, now this is the completion of those 3 streams, and when they complete, when all the streams complete, fork join will react. It will give this output eg4, which is the last values of each observable. Okay, yeah, so it will emit for us only the last value emitted before the observable or the stream completes. Okay, and then it will complete. Okay, so this is how fork join works, and it's really helpful for bulk operation. Okay, because this is what I need. I don't need to get the value emitted throughout the process. Okay, I don't need to get responses throughout the process. I only need one response at the end when all the streams completed. Okay, it's like, yeah, go do your job and then just notify me once you complete and once it's done. Yeah, and this is what it looks like into code. Okay, so I have here my upload service, okay, which contains the upload file method that takes as input the file to be uploaded and returns an observable of file status. Okay, what's the status of the upload process? Is it successful, or it's uploaded with errors, or there's an error happening? Yeah, so this is the upload file, and I will call here two times the upload file. So I have bulk operations, or bulk of 2 operations for demonstration purposes, and here my streams, okay, my observables, and I will then call the fork join, okay, which takes as input the list of the observables and map the output in order to do something here. Again, for demonstration purposes, I am just logging files uploaded successfully. Okay, and you're done with the first requirement, which is performing a bulk upload and getting a response, only one response at the end. Okay, fork join here can do the job for you, but I have to stress something here. You have here 2 observables, and I am calling and creating the observables one by one. But in a real world application, you will not do this. Okay, it's not something static. It's something dynamic. You don't know how many. You don't know how many operations you have. You don't know how many times or how many files the user uploaded. Okay, it's dynamic. So no problem here. You just map it in an array, put all this in an array, and then just map the elements of the array into observables, okay? And just pass this array of observables to the fork join, because the fork join accepts an array also, whether the value is 1 by 1 or an array of those values. Yeah, so this is a hint, let's say, or an advice for you if you want to apply this in a real-world application. Now, let's come back to our requirement and see if it really meets the needs and the requirement I explained in the slide before or not. So here we will get the last status of the first file and the last status of the second file. Again, the return or the output returned by the fork join is an array of the last values emitted by each observable, and it will be returned in the order, first in, first out. The first parameter we give to the fork join, okay, will be here in the first or it will be here the first element of the queue. The second one will be the second element, and so on and so forth. And here is again an important thing to be aware of. So even if the second observable completed before the first one, the output will be the second one. Okay, so it preserves the order. Okay, fork join preserves the order given as input. Yeah, so here is the other thing to be aware of. Now, okay, we got this last status of every file, and we will process it. For my case here, I just logged files uploaded successfully. Yeah, and we are good to go. But if an error happens, okay, so this is the success callback, and we only handled the happy case and the success case. Now, if an error happens, if the upload file throws an error, this is another important thing you should be aware of when working with fork join. When an error happens, the stream or the fork join stream will be completed immediately. It will throw in this error and it will complete immediately. So you will not get anything from the fork join. You will not get any result because it's already dead. The subscription is completed and the stream's complete. So nothing will get emitted here. And you will be upset because it's not a good user experience. Okay, it's like I am uploading a file. I don't have nothing in the interface, but in the background, in my backend, or my backend crashes, and in my front end, the stream completes. So you don't have any information or graphical indication in order to tell you that something wrong happens. And it's really important in some use cases. Again, for this use cases, for this sample, the user needs to know which file fails and why. For example, maybe the extension I uploaded, the file extension uploaded is not supported. Maybe I need to upload PNG rather than other format. I don't know, an example. Or maybe the size of the file exceeded the limit. Okay, so I have to compress it and then upload it, for example. So the user need to know why this happened. There's something wrong that happens and why in order to fix it. Okay, yeah, so it's very important just to highlight this because it's very important in many use cases and you will take care. It's very important to handle errors in your applications. It's like very important. So I need to handle errors and I did not. So it's not complete. The implementation here is not complete. And to be complete, let's add the catch error operator, which is a very smart operator by RxJS that makes you able to catch the errors and to handle errors. Okay. In this case, I will just wrap this error into another observable. And the point behind this is to keep the subscription alive. Okay, so I don't want the fork join to complete. If one of the files crashes, okay, if the upload crashes, for whatever reason, I don't care, I will just catch it and wrapping it into another observable, okay, and the observable of error, okay. And here, the fork join will not be aware that there is an error that happens, okay, because he doesn't care. There's a living observable out there, and he will continue to do the job and listening to the streams. And then it will emit for us the last value and the last value of this stream, okay? And here you may ask a question, how we differentiate between the success case and the error case? Well, you should handle this in your code. How? For example, again, this case, I have the upload file returns an observable of file status. So you can populate the file status object with information, with properties. And here you can populate with the error properties, and for the success case, you will populate the object with the success properties. Okay, this way, when you have this returned array of elements, you can just differentiate between the success case and the error case and react to that. How we react to that? By displaying pop-up messages to the user, telling that this is the exception that happened, or by putting something different in terms of signing. I don't know. So you can handle this in your user interface as you wish. Well, this way we handled the happy case, okay, and the sad case, which is the error case. Now, another thing for bulk operations, which is very required, is for example, again, I will let's learn by examples. Here, in the case of files, I will need to see the progress of the upload. If I have more than 3-4 files, for example, even if I have 3 files, I want to know what's the progress of the files, okay, of the upload of those files, okay, and I need to see a graphical indication about this, okay. And how can we do this? How can we intercept the streams, okay, in order to do some treatment? In the bulk operation, for example, we need it emits one time. The fork join emits only one time at the end, but still I need to know the progress or to intercept the streams or the end of each stream separately in order to perform a treatment or execute something. As I said now, the progress of the upload files. And here, it's just side effects that you need to implement on complete. Okay, so here you can just use the finalize operator, which is a very helpful operator in these cases. So finalize will detect for you when the stream ended, and it will execute this callback. Okay, and in my callback, I can put the treatment I want to put. I mean, here I am just calculating the progress percentage of my files, and I am just implementing a simple JavaScript function which calculates for me the progress of the file, okay, to track the progress. And I just call it in my finalize, operator, okay. And this way it will get triggered on the completion, okay. This way I can intercept this specific moment of the life cycle, which is the end of each stream, in order to do something, okay. Yeah, so those are the 3 sites: success, error, and side effects at the end of each operation. This is how I dealt with bulk operation using RxJS. And now let's move to the second recipe, which is caching, okay. Again, the context here, I have a UI and I am requesting a backend API, so maybe you have a RESTful backend. Yeah, and I think this is very, this is a recurrent, let's say, case, caching HTTP requests. So in my Angular application here, I have many components, and I have a service, which is my recipe service, and recipes $, which is the stream of my recipes, okay? This is the data I retrieved from the backend. And the components will subscribe to this stream by injecting the recipe service and in the component itself, okay? So maybe more than one component need this stream. Okay, so let's say that more than one component need the stream, and this service will be injected by many components. Okay, so every time we will recall the APIs that gets the recipes dollar every time. Now, suppose that this data is static, okay, it's not dynamic. Then what we will see double calls in the browser every time because we have more than one subscriber, okay? So we will see double calls in the browser, and it will be, I mean, something like useless, okay? There are some calls that are useless. Only the first call is relevant. And then all the others can just be retrieved from the first call. So here comes the caching concept. So I want to cache, okay? I want to cache this, the result only one time, and then all the other subscribers get this result. So here what we need is cherry play and cache error. Cache error will be the secret ingredient in every recipe because it's very important to handle errors in every use case. Yeah, so here, let's break down what is going on at the level of this service. Here I have my healthy recipe service, which is a regular Angular service. I have as a private attribute the recipes URL, well, and here the recipes dollar, okay? So dollar here is, I am using always dollar in my as a name for my streams, which is an informal convention to tell that this is an observable. Okay, I was asked about this in my previous sessions. Yeah, and I wanted just to point this out. Yeah, so here is the recipes dollar observable, which will just request my backend through the HTTP client, and then just process the error by calling the process error, which is a custom function I implemented to process the error. Okay, and you can do the same thing in your case, because maybe handling an errors can be externalized in one class, okay, or in one method, in order to be reusable with all other components. Well, so I want to here shed the light on something. This is a recommended pattern when using with Angular and RxJS, okay, which is a declarative pattern to retrieve the data, okay? So there are two methods. Whether you just implement here a method, which is get recipe service, for example, and inside this method, you just put the call to your backend URL, and then call it in the ng onInit lifecycle hook of your component, okay? And this is the second method, which is the recommended method, because it's more declarative, okay? You have your stream in your service, which is exposed in your service and shared with all your component as a public attribute, okay? And this way you can, your application can be more fluent and reactive, because you can retrieve all the streams and combine them, manipulate them. You can use also here the change detection strategy to on-push, yeah, and to enhance the performance of your application, because it gets triggered when the observable is called in your template, etc. So this is very, I mean, it comes in handy in those kind of situations. Yeah, so I really recommend this pattern. Now, let's say, okay, the recipes dollar is the stream containing my recipes, and how can I catch this? It's through the operator share replay of RxJS, and all RxJS operator are whether under the package RxJS or RxJS operator. So you just import this operator from the RxJS package and call it here by piping, I mean, your observable, and call the pipeable operator. Okay, this way, the result of this stream or the data emitted by this stream will be cached and shared with all the subscribers. Okay, so every subscriber to this observable will share the same result. And this will really enhance the performance of your application, okay? And yeah, the share replay falls under the category of multicasting operators. Yeah, so, and you're good to go for caching. But here, I want to point out something very important. Some data are not subject to be cached. What does it mean? I mean, you have to study the data before using the share replay operator and caching them. If your API is static or the result returned by your API is always static, I don't know, for example, the list of currencies, the list of languages, I know that this is something static. If it's shared or used by many components, all the components will always get the same result. So I will cache it, okay? This is subject to be cacheable. But if the information are not the same for all the components, maybe it's done on purpose, okay? It's true, I have the same API, but the API has different parameters, okay? And with every parameter, there's a different output. And every component is has different parameter or has to get different results. So yeah, in this case, even if it's the same API, but it's not always the same returned output. So here, be careful, because it will be like, yeah, it will be very messy, and you will not be able to handle it, because all your components will get always the same result, which is not meant to be, okay? So just here, before caching your data, study the data to be cached, and if it's subject to be cacheable, so you can go with the share replay operator. Now, let's move to the third recipe, which is combining streams, okay? And yeah, if you're familiar with relational databases and you're working with it, or you worked with it in the past, then it's something like joining tables in SQL, okay? So you have, in a reactive application, all the things are streams, okay? Yeah, you have observables everywhere, you have streams everywhere. And sometimes you will need to combine those streams in order to get a specific information, okay? So this is a very useful use case also. And what we need for this recipe is combine latest, catch error, and array destructuring technique. And here, let's explain the combine latest operator. Combine latest falls under the category of combination operator, obviously. And here, it takes as input a collection of observables. Here I have two observables, and every time it emits the last value of the given observable as input. It's not like the fork join. The fork join emit only one time at the end, okay? But the combine latest emits every time there is a new emission. And here is an example. So at this level here, I have A and 1, okay? And then, okay, later on, this observable has emitted a new value, which is B. So I have to notify my subscribers, hello, there's a new value, which is B. So it will see the others, if they emitted a new value or not. At this point, the second observable did not. So the last value, it's 1, still 1. So it will return B1. Then the second observable has emitted a new value. So I have to notify my subscribers. So let's see if the first one has emitted a new value. No, the last value is still B, so it will be B2, and so on and so forth, okay? And this comes in handy in many situations. In my case here, again, for demonstration purposes, and as an example, maybe you have something similar on your applications. For these recipes, I have recipes and reviews, and recipes and reviews has different APIs, okay? I have an API for recipe and an API for reviews. And yeah, for the recipes, I want every time to show to the user the last value of reviews. I mean, let's say maybe the last review of the count of reviews, okay? Because the reviews can change frequently, okay? At every time, the list of reviews or the number of reviews can change. So I want just to have the most recent review in my UI, okay? And the exact number of counts of reviews. So here, what I will do, I have two here streams, the stream of the recipes and the stream of reviews, and I will use combine latest in order to combine each time the last values of those two. Okay, and in order to manipulate this observable or to do something after both recipes and reviews have emitted something, I just use the array destructuring technique. So I will get the list of recipes and reviews, and I can do the treatment I want to perform here. And this is very useful. Fourth recipe, avoiding memory leaks and manage unsubscription. Well, so what we need here, ingredients, async pipe, take until, first, take last, and first operators. Well, this is a very, very, very important subject, and it can be, it can be the subject of a presentation in itself. So yeah, how we handle the unsubscription. When working with Angular and RxJS, especially with RxJS, you need to handle the unsubscription of your observables. And what are the methods? First method, let Angular manage the subscription for you. Okay, how? By using the most popular pipe available out there, the async pipe. Okay, for those who are not familiar with async pipe is a pipe provided by Angular, and first of all, it subscribes for you automatically, and best of all, it unsubscribes for you automatically when the component gets destroyed. Okay, and it always emits for you the last values of the stream, the last value of the stream. Yeah, so it's very, recommended to use the async pipe in your HTML templates. And again, it's a very, let's say it's a perfect match with the change detection strategy on push. When using it, just change the change detection strategy to on push of your component in order to limit the number of change detection triggered by Angular, okay, which are expensive operations and can harm a little bit your performance. So in order to enhance the performance, yeah, just put change detection strategy to on push, and this will get on push will get triggered when the input references changes, when the output it changes, or there is an observable linked with asynchronous pipe. Yeah, that's why it's a perfect match. So you can let Angular handle the subscription for you and use the by using the async pipe, or let RxJS manage the subscription for you. Again, this depends on the use case, okay? There are some operators, just keep in mind that there are some operators that manage this unsubscription. For example, take, which was under the category of filter operators. Okay, it will just take 5 values here as an example, and then complete. So it will complete automatically after filtering the number of values. There is take while also, which will take the subscription while the given observable as input completes. Take last, same thing, first, which just take one element, and there is last operator also, which will take the last element and then complete. So there are a set of operators that manage the subscription for you. Well, I don't tell you just go use those operators. No, but if you have some use case, if you have this use case, if you need to filter and then only filtering, and you don't need to get this subscription live, then yeah, you can just use one of these operators. Just be aware of their existence. And now, if this does not fit your need, I mean, RxJS does not fit your need, RxJS operators, and you can't use the async pipe in templates, you have other services, or you have other logic in your component, then yeah, you have to look further, whether using libraries that will manage the unsubscription for you. Here there is Until Destroy, which is used, RxAngular also, or you can do it yourself, okay, by just handling the subscription for you, for yourself. And here is the recommended pattern, which is yeah, here you can see that we are using take until this .destroy dollar is completed, and I am subscribing concretely to this object by calling the subscribe method. And in the end, G on destroy, you should just complete this observable or this subject, sorry, which is declared in your component. Here is how you can manage the subscription, the unsubscription yourself. And also be aware that if you are merging and combining streams, then you don't have to unsubscribe from each stream aside, but you just can call the unsubscribe on the list, and RxJS will handle the unsubscription for all the merged streams or combined streams. Yeah. And just watch this community repository, okay? I will be given a very detailed talk about memory leaks with Angular and RxJS, and it will be a deep dive or a zoom on the, let's say, use cases that will cause memory leaks and so. Yeah, just watch this repository and you will get notified about the date of the talk. Now, let's move to the next recipe, which is sharing data between components. Okay, so what you will need: behavior subject, service, observable, and update function. Well, suppose that you have many components, okay, and you have a shared data that one component update and the others consume, or all the components update and consume at the same time. Well, if you show me this, I will automatically suggest the state management. I will say that your application is subject to state, and you have to handle the state of your application and to use one of the available state management libraries available over there, like NGRX for Angular. Yeah, so you can implement the Redux pattern, but in some cases your application is not really subject to state. You only need to share one data, or you have two kinds of data that are shared between your components, and for all the others, it's not really, I mean, it's in ephemeral state, okay? It's not really something subject to state. Then I will here recommend this pattern and recommend the behavior subject. Okay, so as you can see here, I have my healthy recipe service, which is an Angular service, and I will just create a behavior subject, and the behavior subject is nothing but a regular subject in Angular, and I see subject in RxJS, sorry, and I see subject in RxJS as observable and observers at the same time. So you can subscribe to in order to get values, and you can also emit values for all the subscribers. And it takes the behavior subject takes takes a default value. Okay, in my case here it's a string value, and here this is private. Okay, this should be private attribute, and I will just extract the observable from this subject in order to expose it to the external world. And I have here an update recipe method which will send the title of the recipe, let's say the last recipe, to this subject. Okay, this way every subscriber to this subject will get the last value automatically, because I will always next the same value to this observable. And why I can use next? Because I am using the behavior subject. I am using a special kind of subject. Okay, and simply in your component you just call the update service method that will update the value emitted by the observable. Okay, for example, here in the on-click event of a recipe, for example, or when the user modified your recipes, well, you can choose the life cycle or the event. Yeah, and you just call it and you will get all things updated. Okay, so this is also a recommended pattern. Now, for real-time using WebSockets, which is an advanced topic, let's say, how to consume real-time data coming from WebSockets. Okay, if you have a WebSockets backend, okay, and you have some real-time data that need to be put from your server to your client, then you will need the WebSocket subject and an Angular service. Okay, in your Angular service, you can put the logic related to the WebSocket, and there is a very useful subject in RxJS, which is the WebSocket subject, which is a wrapper around the W3C WebSocket object available in the browser. Okay, so yeah, you can just call it and it returns a factory. WebSocket is a factory function that will return a ready-to-use subject that you can subscribe to in order to get notified about the incoming data from your socket, and you can give it as input many parameters among others. I mean, the URL of your endpoint, and you can do many customization in the socket lifecycle. And if you want to learn more about this, you can check my GitHub repository. I have 2 projects and real-time dashboard. There is a detailed article about the subject and many talks. I talked about it in details in many conferences. So yeah, you can just check one of those talks to get more information about the subject. 7 recipe, which is bench performance and measure performance. Well, yeah, so it's very, very important when you're working with Angular and RxJS to bench performance before shipping your application into production. And you will need those ingredients. I mean, Source Map Explorer is a recommended tool in order to analyze your bundle size. Check the change detection strategy and use the on push in order to limit the change detection triggers. Consider lazy loading for your Angular modules. Compress your applications, because you will gain 20% of the bundle size. When you're using ng4, try trackback. And if your application is very big and it's subject to state, then consider state management. And last recipe, stay healthy, stay hydrated. To stay healthy, you have to stay hydrated for sure. And to stay hydrated, you have to upgrade always to the last versions, because yeah, there are many improvements from one version to another, especially performance improvements in the rendering tool, and the bundle size, and the build time, compilation time, and all this stuff. There are many things that you can benefit from by upgrading without doing anything. So just upgrade, and in order to do an upgrade, there is one secret ingredient, which is the ng update schematic. And yeah, those are the, I mean, main or my top 4 features of Angular 11. There are faster builds using NGCC update process. The NGCC was enhanced in order to and have to get faster builds and faster compilation with TypeScript 4.0. The experimental Webpack 5 is in support. You can so benefit from things like modules, federation, disk caching, tree checking, etc. Yeah, so you can do funny things like my micro front ends. You can check the talk of Manfred Steyer about the subject. He put this in place with experimental Webpack modules federation. There is an improved reporting and logging, and the language service is updated also, which provides helpful tools to make development with Angular productive and fun. Okay, you can benefit from auto completions and many fun features. Yeah, so thank you very much for having me. That's all I have to tell you today. Stay safe. And if you have any questions about any of the recipes or any recommendation or any other additional information, don't hesitate to reach out through Twitter, my email, LinkedIn. Yeah, that's it. So thank you very much.